Hello, everybody, and welcome to this last webinar, sixth webinar in a series of six. And today we close the series with the demonstration of the reporting part in SAP Analytics Cloud, where we will demonstrate how SAP Analytics Cloud can be used with group reporting data. Not only will we touch the purely reporting part of it, but also have a look at the planning possibilities there and how that interacts. My name is Björn van Damme, partner at Business Elements Analytics. I'm sorry, at element61. I want to talk too fast. And together with my colleague Jeff, we will be hosting this webinar. Some webinar information. Your microphone is muted and your camera as well. Please use the Q&A panel that you have in front of you on your right-hand side to ask questions. We will answer them interactively during the session. There's also a Q&A part at the end anyhow. The webinar is being recorded. Be aware of that. If you don't want to be part of this recording, you can always leave and you will receive the recording link afterwards. A very short information on element61, but for those of you who have followed the first five ones, know who element61 is by now. So we are a Belgium-based business analytics company, and we are an SAP partner, where in the portfolio of BI and EPM of SAP, we are actually conducting projects. We have a very strong functional skill in financial reporting. That's why our very strong focus on group reporting the past months, and we believe we can show up to more than 100 SAP business analytics projects in that domain. Our company is built on three pillars. So we have the data science and strategy team, a relatively young team, but where it's all about the predictive element of data. We have a business analytics domain, where it's more about the visualization aspect and the structuring of data beneath. And we have performance management, where it's about financial planning and analysis, consolidation. And that's exactly where group reporting resides. We are working with respect to group reporting projects. We are working closely together with other companies. And with those companies, we have created an association in Europe, a little bit beyond Europe as well, to be able to share knowledge with respect to group reporting and also conduct these projects for larger international clients as well. But always, of course, keeping always a country focus. We have started this path in 2018, and also together with SAP, where we have been invited in the first trainings of group reporting. In the meantime, we have done in 2020 and also this year, we have also done some city tours, if I may call it like that, where we present the solution to the audience. But know that element61 is part of a larger association, specifically with respect to group reporting, and that we can offer our clients a, let's say, large team that has experience and expertise on group reporting. This webinar is part of a larger series where we have, if we look at this small wheel and we follow it clockwise, these are the different aspects of the closing cycle. We have in the first webinar gave you a small introduction on group reporting, followed by a deep dive. Then we have been talking about group reporting, data collection, about intercompany matching. We have last week explained how disclosure management can add to that, and now we will have a look at the SAP Analytics Cloud part, which interacts with group reporting, which is the last webinar today. I will give the word to my colleague Jeff, who will take you through the demo. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you for that introduction, Bjorn. So today we're going to be reviewing group reporting with SAP Analytics Cloud. So within group reporting, or within the overall landscape for group reporting, we have a number of reporting options that are available to us. So if we look over to the left of the slide here, we have SAP Analytics Cloud, or often referred to as SAC. So there are two variants of SAC that we're going to be looking at today. So that's eSAC, or embedded SAC, and we have SAC itself. We also have in the middle of the screen, we have SAP Analysis for Office, otherwise known as AFO. And finally, to the right, we have SAP Design Studio. So SAP Design Studio is an application that's built directly into group reporting. This is mainly used for ad hoc analysis. So different types of analysis that would be performed by controllers, by the consolidation team in order to understand the data. So this is really about, it's like a pivot table, and it's very pivot table-like, where you drag your dimensions that you've defined within your application to the rows and columns that you would have in your report. You can then export that report to Excel. You can save those reports as tiles that you can reference later, and you can also drill within those reports. But the main functionality of that report is really to understand the data and to do all different types of data discovery. So you can do things like drill down to the document level within those types of applications, and we've seen that in the previous webinars during this webinar series. So, but this is very, very good for ad hoc analysis. But we also have other options as well. So we also have AFO. AFO is very interesting for extracting data from the SAP S4HANA environment, extracting it and putting it into Excel. And then you have the full functionality of Excel in order to create reports. So you could create all different types of disclosures, all different types of analysis that could be done in, say, MS Excel. And then finally, our other option, which we have over to the left of the screen, is we have eSAC and SAC itself. So embedded SAC, and we'll get into the differences just next slide, but that's very, very good for creating dashboards, displaying KPIs. As you see here in this little print screen, you can do all different types of charts and things like that. And it's very, very good for disseminating the financial figures throughout the organization. So stakeholders within the finance function, but also outside of the finance function as well. And furthermore, if you notice there's that double arrow there in SAC, you can do planning with that. So you can use this for data entry, while the other options are really not available. Data entry is really not available to us. Now, one of the key aspects of the slide that we need to focus on right here are these two little icons that we have in the lower right portion of the screen, so that you're managing your global hierarchies and you're defining your reporting rules. So regardless of the options that you make for your implementation, for reviewing your data, the hierarchies, the master data, and any of the reporting rules are stored centrally within group reporting. So if I have a hierarchy and I define that hierarchy in group reporting, I can see that hierarchy in SAC, in AFO, and in the Design Studio. If I make a change to that hierarchy, it cascades throughout all the reports that you've defined throughout your entire landscape. So that's very, very useful because you get a very consistent presentation of all of your data, and it also cuts down on the maintenance. You also have reporting rules as well, which are also centrally defined. A reporting rule basically selects amounts based on accounts and on balance sheet movements, and is very, very useful for defining cash flow statements. It can also be used for KPIs, but this is really very great for a cash flow statement. So if you define a cash flow statement with your reporting rules, you can see that in the Design Studio, AFO, and in SAC consistently. So on to the next slide. So what is the difference between eSAC and SAC itself? So embedded SAC is actually a part of the S4HANA environment. So it is the reporting aspects, or the reporting side of SAP Analytics Cloud that have been integrated into the S4HANA environment. And it reads the existing CDS views natively in that S4HANA environment. And then by extension, also group reporting as well. So a CDS view, for those of you who are not aware of it, it's just a data view that reads data from the tables that have been defined within S4HANA. So it can only read data, so only reporting is possible from this application. but it is an option if you want to build reports directly on a group reporting or S4HANA as well. And then finally, you have Analytics Cloud. So Analytics Cloud is a completely separate tenant from S4HANA, so it's a separate database. But within Analytics Cloud, you can create all different types of live connections. So you can create a live connection to S4HANA, to group reporting within S4HANA, or to third-party databases, where SAC is actually reporting on data that's contained in a different database. And we'll see how that works a little bit later. But once you establish that live connection, you are able to view data from SAC in group reporting. And furthermore, and most importantly, you're also able to plan data in SAC. So by you can extract data from group reporting or from the overall S4HANA environment, use it to generate your plan, and then export that data back to S4HANA for consolidation. So how does that work between the two tools? So to the left of the screen, we have in orange, we have the SAP S4HANA environment, and to the blue, we have SAP Analytics Cloud. So there's a number of arrows that we have right here, but the things that we want to focus on first is the import connection. So these import connections that are going from the AC.A table and the AC.U table can be sent over for planning purposes in Analytics Cloud. So these import connections, and we'll see an import connection later during the demo, it imports master data as well as transactional data. So once we've imported our master data and transactional data in Analytics Cloud, we can then set up a plan. Once we create our plan, we then export it back to a table that's specifically defined for capturing plan data, and that is called the AC.P table. So that AC.P table is a repository for planning data that has been created in Analytics Cloud. So once that data is in the AC.P table, we then create a version. Once we have a version in group reporting, so we'll have versions for actuals, versions for plan, versions for budget, versions for whatever. We have a version for our plan data that then connects to our AC.P table. So when we do a release of the universal journal, and we do that release of the universal journal in the data monitor, so it's just a click of a button, and it copies that data from the AC.P table into the AC.U table. So from the AC.U table, we can then run a consolidation. We can report on that data using embedded SAC, or we can report on that data back in Analytics Cloud using the analytics of SAP Analytics Cloud. So what we're going to show you today is we're going to take a look at some dashboards that we've built in eSAC or embedded SAC. We've also built some dashboards in SAC itself using a live connection. So we'll show how those may look in a SAC environment. And then we'll do some planning where we'll enter some plan data in SAC and export it back to S4HANA group reporting where we can then consolidate upon it. So let's take a look at the application itself. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Screen 1, loading. And here we have group reporting. So this is if you haven't seen the prior webinars, this is the landing page of group reporting. And here we have all the different types of tiles that are available to us. And these tiles are applications, and they're organized in the application sets. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. As I scroll down, I get to analytics for group reporting. So within the analytics for group reporting section, I have this tile right here, which is the design studio that's used for creating those ad hoc reports that I spoke about. And then 2 tiles over, I have my SAC story that has been defined for me. So by clicking on this, I can see all of the published SAC stories that are available to me. I can cycle through them by clicking on these arrows, the drop-down list, or I have my tab bar right here. So I can see that I have 6 reports that have been defined for me. They can be very highly formatted, as we've highly formatted these. We have all different types of radio buttons, so we can look at specific entities if we want to. We can switch the measure. We can do things like switch the period as well. So if you were looking at webinar 3, where we looked very in detail at the consolidation, we had intercompany eliminations at the first common parents. We used the ad hoc tool to review that data, but we can also see that those intercompany eliminations at the first common parent here. So we actually have some segmentation available to us with this report. So we can see that in the ad hoc tool and in an embedded SAC story. So from here, I quickly clicked away from it, but we can see actuals versus plan. We have all different types of calculations. So it's basically what you would expect from a dashboarding tool. So one of the things I want to click on and take a look at a little bit more closely is the P&L by adjustments. And this is basically just a hierarchy. So it's a P&L, and it's with adjustments across the columns. And within this hierarchy, I have my hierarchy PL that I can see right there, and I'm just highlighting it with my mouse. And I have different codes for my hierarchy. So it's TCO 100 and TBT 100. Now I'm going to go back to the application that I have right here. So I have another tab open, and I'm going to go to a pre-built report that I've saved to my Fiori desktop. And I can review the exact same hierarchy that I have in my my SAC story. So from here, I can see the TCO 100, the TBT 100, and I can see the 9 million and the 5.3 million. So those are the exact same figures and the exact same hierarchy that I have either in the analysis report or in the embedded SAC story. The only major difference is the signage has changed. And this is because in this report I have right here, this is accounting signage. So debits are positive, credits are negative. And if I click back, I'm just going to go slowly over so I don't lose you. With here, I'm presenting this to the outside world. So we want to show revenue as a positive and losses as a negative. So we don't have to explain what accounting signage is to people who are not in the accounting function. So from here, we can build all different types of reports and present them to our end users. So now I'm going to go to another tab that I have right here. So I have SAP Analytics Cloud. So this is that separate tenant that I spoke about earlier in the presentation. So this is the full SAC or SAP Analytics Cloud as opposed to the embedded SAC. So right here, I have some SAC stories that I have available to us. So we're going to click on here, and we're going to use this import. We're going to use this for planning, but I have a part of my dashboards that are available to me in my analytics, in my SAC tenants that I have right here. So from here, I have some KPIs. You can see our RONA is doing really well. That are popping up, and I also have a balance sheet and I have a cash flow statement. So that's very nice and all, but it's probably something that you expect from a dashboarding tool. And again, I have all of the radio buttons. I have the selection that's available to me. I have things like I can export this to a PDF if I wish to do so. I could export this to Excel. So things that you would expect to find in a modern dashboarding tool. One of the things I also want to focus on, however, is I click on my display options, and I have my ID and description right here. So as you can see, this is my ledger Y1, my hierarchy BSPL. Now, where did this BSPL hierarchy come from? I'm going to go back to my group reporting. I'm going to click on the little home here, and this takes me back all the way up to what my master data that I have defined within group reporting. So here is that managed global hierarchies that I spoke about. My defined reporting rules are down here. So I'm going to click on my global hierarchies, and from here I can see the BSPL hierarchy. And if I click on this, and I'm going to open it up. So from here, this is where I define my hierarchy. And this is where I have my property, plant, and equipment, and my hierarchical node, the T161. So again, this is very interesting because I've defined my hierarchy centrally within group reporting and using an import because it's SAP Analytics Cloud centric. So I'm importing into SAC. I'm importing my master data, and I'm also importing my transactional data as well. So from here, I can see my hierarchy, and I can see all of the nodes that have been defined within that hierarchy that's in group reporting. Now, what you'll also notice right here, if we focus on this one little line right here, we're going to see the live connection in action. I have a 68,000. So if I go back to group reporting, sorry to go back and forth, but the two tools are working together, so we need to kind of go back and forth. This is just a journal entry. So I'm going to post €1,000,000 on that account. So I have a journal entry all queued up so that's, you don't have to go see me navigate. So I'm just going to post this journal. So now I've posted my journal. So if I go back to Analytics Cloud, so I've gone back to my SAC story that I have right here, and I just need to refresh this. So by refreshing this report, the live connection is in action, and what we should see once it refreshes is we should see the €1,000,000. So this report is reading data directly from group reporting. So there's no import-export process. The import-export is for the master data, and then the financial data itself is being read using that live connection. So that is great to be able to create dashboards either in embedded SAC or SAC itself. So let's do some planning now. So I'm going to go back to my P&L inputs. And then from my P&L inputs, I can create a plan. So again, one more time, this was generated using an import process. I've imported my transactional amounts, my transactional accounts, and a hierarchy for my GL accounts. I've also imported some transactional data as well. So all of this comes from the AC doc A table. Now I'm going to just use the standard functionality of Analytics Cloud to generate some amounts. And this is stuff that you would normally find in a planning process. So I can, enter in amounts at a high level and then, break it back across my amounts. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, I generated quite a bit of figures, and it's because I'm at a total profit center and a total functional area. So I've committed my amounts by publishing. So I've sent that to the database in order it's now saved. So now once that data is saved, I can send it back to the SAP S4HANA environment to that AC doc P table. So to do that, I click on Data Management. This takes me to the Data Management screen. So I click on Data Management right here. And I have an export job that's waiting for me to export my data. So to do that, I just click on Export right here. So normally as an end user, I would not be clicking on Export on myself. I would schedule this process. So we can schedule this every 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever. But it's too difficult to schedule a job during a half an hour presentation. But normally an end user probably wouldn't go into the screen to export their data. You'd have a scheduled job running in the background. So while this is running, you can also see that I have my import job above. So that import job, that's the import job that generated all of my master data and transactional data for the actuals that was available to me at the beginning of the planning process before I entered in my amounts. So now that I can see that the 42 rows has been sent over to the AC doc P table within S4HANA. So we're just going to close this screen because we have a lot of tabs open. And I'm going to go back to my group reporting environments here. And I'm going to just scroll up real slowly. So I have my consolidation data preparation. So within my consolidation data preparation, I have my data monitor. So within the data monitor, this is a, for those of you who haven't seen the prior webinars, this is a tool that has an application that has all of your hyperlinks to the various tasks that you need to perform in order to submit your data. So I have all my tasks that I can see in these columns right here. You know, I have data validations, all different types of currency translation and so forth. And in the rows, I have all my entities that are available to me within the EPM international group. So I've been working on the Luxembourg entity. So I'm going to submit, I'm going to release the universal journal right here. And I'm going to do that to release my plan data. So I'm just going to go back one, and I know that it's plan data because I can see the version right here. So if I click on global processes, I can see that I'm working on my plan version. I click here, and I'm going to click on update run, and I click on the little save button to release the universal journal. And yes, I do want to release that. And I've released my universal journal. So this has actually changed a little bit because we are on the latest version. Our version has just updated this past September. So before you saw all different types of records, and now you see it in a more of a dashboard format where I can see the total released documents. And if I want to click on the documents to get a more detailed view, I click on the documents icon, and I can see that's 125 euro that I planned earlier, you know, in this session. I can see it at the transaction currency, the local currency, and I can also see it at the group currency because this is a euro entity and it's a euro consolidation. So there's no currency translation. So it automatically updates the group currency at the exact same time. So I click on the little green check to say I'm done and happy with that. I go back 2 steps. I can see that I have the check that I already had, but it means I'm good to go. So I can lock this because I'm finished with it. I click on the little SAP icon to get to the top. And I'm just going to scroll back down to my analytics. So let's just make sure that it's there. So I have a little check report that I've built, and I've done that with my ad hoc analysis report. And that's great. I can see the 125 in local currency and in group currency. So now I can go back to my SAC story and see the plan data available to me. And I can see that plan data is now up to date. And before I didn't really point it out, but in the recording, if you want to go back, you can see that this column did not have any data. So from here, I have my local currency amounts. I can then run a consolidation like I would normally run a consolidation for actuals. You would just go to the consolidation application and just run a consolidation for your plan data. And that plan data would then be consolidated. So that was a lot of clicking. So I'm just going to go back to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to go back to the slides if I can. And we're just going to do a little review of what we just went over, because that was quite a bit of screens that we had to review. So what we did is we first saw the embedded SAC using like a P&L by segments to review our data. We saw the balance sheets review in analytics, in SAP Analytics using the live connection, and we posted a journal to see that data update automatically. Prior to the webinar, we imported data using these import connections to populate our actuals and to populate all of the master data. We then created a plan, and then we pushed that plan back to the AC.P table. We released that plan data using the release of the Universal Journal in the data monitor, and we got it back into the AC.U table. And then finally, we reviewed that data using Embedded Analytics Cloud. So we went through the entire life cycle of the planning process within 10 minutes. So probably your plan will take a little bit longer. So that concludes our webinar, or at least our presentation for today. so that if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know, and we'll hope to answer them as best as we possibly can.
We have a question from the audience, but we will try. The question is, does S4HANA work with Google tools or only with Microsoft Office? I'm not 100% understanding that question, but we will take that one offline and come back to that in person. If there are no further questions, I believe we can wrap up for today and wrap up on the on all 6 of the webinars. So I want to thank everybody for their attendance throughout these 6 webinars. I believe it was an interesting road, concluding with the SAP Analytics Cloud reporting and looking at the small planning solutions and the integration that is possible there. You are kindly invited to the SAP Business Analytics Day in November 18th. This is going to be a physical one, luckily, which is like in the normal times. Non-corona is in Living Tomorrow, which is our fixed base for these Business Analytics Days of SAP. Thanks everybody for joining. Wishing you a nice continuation of the day. Recording will be sent over, and we just have one question now popping in. Just going to read it out loud. We use SAP BOFC, so that's financial consolidation, Jeff, on HANA for financial reporting and SAC for reporting. So the question is, what would be the efforts to convert from FC to group reporting, efforts in time, skills, and resources?
That's a big question.
Yes, it is.
So I think that it depends a lot on a lot of variables. So it depends on the customization. It depends on exactly what you want to do. So that is a full implementation, and implementations could be, between 75 man days, 100 man days, or more. So we would really need to look very detailed about what is a part of that.
Yeah, what is being set up in FC? Are there any particularities that we need to know? Group reporting comes with a kind of we call it starter kit, but it's not really. Yeah, you can call it starter kit. It's a predefined setup that you can change, adapt, extend. So we'll have to look into that.
There's no conversion tool or anything like that.
For conversion, and then exactly, and then SAC for reporting. Well, we will have to connect to group reporting, and then again, is it embedded or is it the tenant itself? If it's on the tenant itself, you might duplicate those, but there will also be some effort. But once we have the source available, I think these are things that the client can do. So in case you want to discover that together with us, and we can have a look at that in a workshop. We can have a look at that in a workshop and give you an idea. So feel free to contact us, myself or Jeff, to schedule that, and we're happy to give you an indication of timing and effort, etc. The webinars, if somebody has problems in accessing the webinars or has no idea where to find the recording, just drop us a mail. We will be happy to provide you with the links, because the links are still on big markers, so where you are following the webinars. Have a nice afternoon, everybody, and hoping to see you at the SAP Business Analytics Day in November. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.